Hey everybody, welcome back to Global Conflict TCG. Ryan here with you. So we're taking a detour today. Um, if you guys have followed my channel for the last, I don't know, however long I've been on YouTube, I think almost getting close to a year, you know the last 5 months I've been really putting a lot of emphasis or a lot of focus on working in Unity and building my card game in Unity using Playmaker. And so this video today is really going to be focused on Easy Save and Playmaker. I'm at the point now in the game where starting to make the save system for the entire project, and let me tell you, it's quite a struggle. So if you clicked on this video to learn about Easy Save, go ahead and stick around because I'm gonna really dive into a save manager, how to make a save manager, some of the problems and obstacles that I ran into when creating a save manager, and you might get some value out of this video. I hope that I'm actually, to be honest, I hope that I'm able to help somebody because for a minute there, I almost felt like I might not be able to finish this project just because of the way everything is the way everything is working with the save manager, and it's kind of hard to figure out. Like, it's not the most intuitive thing. It is, now don't get me wrong, Easy Save is a great asset. Of course, using it with Playmaker makes it even easier, but it's not, I guess the way to put it's not as easy as it seems at first. And there's definitely some things that you have to learn about when creating a save manager with Easy Save and Playmaker. So that's what we're here for. Let's go ahead and dive into it. A little bit different type of video today. I kind of put together a presentation for you guys, so it's not the best looking one, but I think it's going to get the point across. So let's dive in. So very first, to make a save manager in Unity, there's a few different things you're going to need, especially if you're using Playmaker like I am, using Playmaker and Easy Save. Goes without saying, you're going to need the Easy Save asset. You're also going to need Playmaker asset. From what I know, you can actually use Easy Save without Playmaker, but in this case, for my projects, and if you're watching these videos, you're probably using Playmaker too. So you're going to need both those assets. When you download Playmaker, you're going to need Playmaker ecosystem. Once you have the ecosystem, you're going to need to download the ArrayMaker package from ecosystem. While you're in that ecosystem, you're also going to need the Easy Save 3 Playmaker package, also from the ecosystem. And then the last thing you're going to need, there is another package in there, ArrayMaker Easy 3 Save package. So my project is a card game. If you followed me before, if you know I'm building a card game. If you're new to the channel, welcome, like, subscribe. But I'm building a card game in Unity, a full-fledged card game, kind of similar to like Pokemon or Magic, in that sort of realm. And to do that, I'm using Playmaker, which helps with the scripting side, which with a card game, there's tons and tons of scripting. So Playmaker helps to make that easier. So, this is my way of doing it for a card game, and you're going to see on the next diagram that I show you here in a second why we use these packages. So, all right, so if there's one thing that you get out of this video, it's probably going to be this diagram here. So I've done a lot of scouring on YouTube to try to get help on using Easy Save and the proper ways to use it and set it up. Dig through all the forums for both Easy Save and on the Playmaker forums. And there's a lot of great information out there, but to be honest, there's a couple areas that are kind of lacking. In particular, what's lacking on YouTube is there's not a lot of videos out there that really get into depth about structuring your save system and how those things should look. So that's what this video is about. So please, if there's any one thing that you get out of this video, it's going to be this slide here, because this is the actual kind of like visualization of the save manager that I've created for my game. And this type of setup can actually like work for any other type of game. Like, it doesn't have to be a card game like mine, but I think this is probably the most common type of setup that you're going to have out there. So this, like I said, this isn't on YouTube. This is just kind of something I put together now that I actually have a working save manager. This is how it would look if we were to visualize it. So let me start at the top. So we have a master save manager, and then right below that we have a player profile save manager. There's something that all the reading and videos I've watched that teach you the fundamentals of using Easy Save along with Playmaker, which is great, but none of them talk about just kind of how how you have to structure your save system. And so the way I'm doing it, I think is the right way. So I guess let me backstep a little bit. I'm not a professional. I don't do this for a living. This is strictly just a hobby. But the way I figured this out and the way it just kind of makes sense to me from a logic standpoint is when you're building a save system, it's kind of deceiving. You think you're building just one save system, and I guess you kind of are, but in particular, when you're building a save manager, you can't just have one save manager. You're actually going to need two save managers, if we're being honest. So that's what this is showing here. We have a master save manager and a player profile save manager. So what are the differences between them? The master save manager is really, it's a save manager that manages all of the player profile or the player like saved games within the game. And generally the master save manager for myself is going to be really kind of the manager that manages all of those profiles for the game, and it's something that the player never actually interacts with other than when they go to select one of their saved games. So that master save manager has its own save key that's basically hard coded into the Playmaker FSMs that never changes. It has the same keys every single time the player starts the game. And so that's the first save manager. I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a second in Unity, but just know that very first master save manager is kind of the overarching save manager that you're going to need to really just save your game, to save like multiple profiles in your game. So I would say most type of games would need this type of setup for save managers, but I guess there could be some oddballs out there that don't need like an overarching save manager like this. But in this case, in my game, what you're going to see when I get into the UI is that when you first boot up the game, you're able to go in and look at all your saved games or saved profiles, and you could click and load or delete them, or start a brand new game, if you have to. So that master save manager handles all of that. Now, once you select a save profile, or you have one game going and you select that file to load, that's where the player profile save manager takes over. So once you've selected that save file, it's going to load everything up with this second save manager. And anytime you make any progress in the game, so like attributes, or for my game, like updated card collection, deck collections, campaign progress, achievements, all of those things that you actually do in the game that require saving, that's all going to be handled by the second save manager, which is the player profile save manager. So I hope that makes sense. So master save manager saves all of your save profiles. This profile save manager saves all of the things in the game that you do or achieve, and saves it to that profile save setting. So like I said, this flowchart, it's really rudimentary, but this is in its simplest form. This is actually what it looks like. And you can see here, so I have save game number 1, save game number 2, and then they both have exactly the same attributes because it's literally the same game, just different save profiles is all it is. And you can see I just kind of threw some random stuff in here, but like attributes, card collection, deck collection, campaign progress, achievements, like all 5 of these things in my game have to be saved. And when they do get saved, they actually get saved by this profile save manager back to the saved profile that was selected at the very beginning in the main menu. So that's how this works. I hope this helps somebody out. This is such a huge, when I finally figured this out, that's when it finally all clicked and made sense, and I was able to actually start saving things in the game without errors or any mistakes. So screenshot this, save it on your phone, save it on your computer. This is really what it is. This is how mine looks, and I would imagine for a lot of other games it's going to look the same way. All right, so things to know. This system works best by keeping 2 managers in separate FSMs. So that master save manager and that player profile save manager, best to keep those separate in different FSMs. And I'm going to show you that here in a second. So I actually have them on separate game objects too. Helps prevent overlap and inadvertent saves. So I actually, when I first was trying to build my save manager, I had it all in one FSM, and that's a huge mistake. You end up saving things that shouldn't be there. And you have to, it doesn't work. These two, if you have a save system like a manager and then a secondary save system for profiles, keep them separate. Each attribute will need its own save key. So the the master save manager, like the master save for the entire game, that actually has its own key. Each profile save that the player makes, that has its own key. Within that profile save, so like card collection, decks, achievements, campaign progress, anything else that you have in your game, each one of those things takes a separate save key. So that's where, hence why I'm making this video, that's where things get extremely complicated, because everything uses the same kind of keys within Easy Save, but what you're having to do is you have like one key that really matters, which is your game's profile save, like the main save for your game, and then you have all these other ancillary keys that need to be saved, or need to also be saved in Easy Save, but they also need to be referenced by your original game save. So I know it sounds super complicated, and trust me, like I spent like a week racking my brain over this to get it to work. I'm going to talk here in a second about how I set that up. It seems really complicated, but then when I show you the FSM, it might not be as complicated. You might like click like it did for me. So we just know that every single thing that you save in a game is going to require a key. A lot of times, going to the third bullet point, you're going to want a good way of tracking all of those keys. Best way to do it is with arrays. Most likely, I have like a few different arrays where I'm tracking different keys for different types of saves, and that really helps a lot too. All right, some common obstacles: items or objects being saved inadvertently. So, like I said, when you're using like the save all action from Easy Save, whatever variables you have in that FSM is going to get saved with that save all action. Just be aware of that, because like I said, when I had the 2 save managers and 1 FSM at one point, when you do that save all, it's going to end up saving all of the variables that you have in that FSM, and it could end up causing issues. Like I had like these random decks like popping up in my game that weren't supposed to be there, and it was because I was saving things inadvertently. Next, keys not matching, resulting in failed loads and saves. This can happen a lot, hence why we're going to use arrays to track all of our keys, and just making sure that the actions we put in place to pull keys or to load keys, or whenever we're trying to save or load anything, making sure that we're pulling the exact keys at the exact time every time. That also goes for deleting keys too. So like when you're going to give the player the ability to delete like save files, we need to make sure that we're tracking those keys correctly, and that's where the arrays come in. So when you track these keys and you keep them inside of arrays, what's great is then you can also pull like an index number within the array, so that way you're accurately pulling the key every single time instead of just using the key name. If you're just using the key name, I would say like 99% of the time it'll work, but there might be that one instance where the player has 2 save files with the exact same key name, like casing and everything, and then that would cause some problems and probably delete more things than they would want. So we'll pay attention to that, and then just easy to lose track of what's doing what. So like I said, going back to like this flow chart, when you're first working on your save manager or save system for your game, it is so hard to mentally visualize what is actually going on when you're building your save system. Even using Playmaker and Easy Save, even though it makes it so much like easier than if you were to do it in C#, it is still really difficult to know exactly what's happening at every time. So I would recommend making something like this, or even writing it on a piece of note paper and doing like a flow chart of what is actually happening, so it makes sense. So all right, just try to keep track of that. It gets really complicated really fast. So all right, let's talk a little bit about the master save manager. The master save manager, like I talked about, is the FSM that manages save profiles created by the player for the entire game. So that first boot up screen when it says start game here, that's where the master save manager takes place. So that first screen, like I said, it's going to have like start new game, continue game, load game. That's the menu I'm talking about, and that's where the master save manager comes in. So let's say you want to click load game and you want to see all of your saved games that you saved over time. That master save manager manages all of those profiles. Keeps an array of game save profiles. So like I said, in that master save manager, I have an array that tracks all of those save profile keys. Very important. Loads profiles in a load screen for player to pick from. master save file is its own save profile that is never touched by the player. So like I said earlier, the player is never going to touch the master save file. It's never going to be, it's not for the player to use. It's just a place for the game to save all of the player's save profiles. That's it. But it is 100% necessary for, at least for my game. All right, so player profile save manager. I know it's kind of wordy, but like I said, this manager is going to load. It loads profiles selected by the player. FSM that manages save profiles for saved game that the user select is kind of back-to-back bullets. Probably should have made those one. Keeps an array of player deck keys. Very important. Manages saves. Manager saves all attributes related to the game, such as like card count, decks, achievements, campaign progress, everything is managed by that save manager. Also houses autosave FSM. So eventually in my game, I'm going to have autosave system that's going to be in that player profile save manager, just as an autosave. All right. I think that is it for that. So let's hop into Unity. All right. So here we are. We're back at my game. Let's do play maximize for now. And I just want to show you guys like what this actually looks like from a game standpoint. So let's click play. We'll have a little bit of background music. So this is going to be my game starting up. So like say you double click it on your desktop, it opens up. This is going to be the first screen. All right. So here we are. We're at the very first screen. We just booted up the game. This reset master save on the final product, this button won't be here, but this one is important for me because there's times where I have to reset these saves just to make sure things are working correctly. But we'll get to that later. So like I said, you just booted up the game. I can click continue, which is going to play the last saved game that I had selected. I could make a new game here if I want, or I could click load. So let's do that. Let's click load, and you can see here we're on the load screen. I have two games. I have new game 1, new game 2, and then you can see they're tagged with game save. This will go away eventually, but for now I have it. And then I got a couple. All this is a list with a couple prefabs that are loaded. I can click load, or I can delete the file if I want. And this actually is live. Like I can delete this. In this case, let's go ahead and click load game 2. Click load. There we go. So this is loaded. Never mind this button. I just had to save. This is actually a save button I was using for some testing. So this won't be here. But here I am. I'm at the main menu. So I actually loaded my profile. And you might be asking, like, well, how do you know you loaded your profile? I could show you on the back end, but what I also could show you is if I go to collection. Let's do that. Let's see. Looks like I got nothing in the collection. I thought I had some. I might have selected the wrong. Yeah, I selected the wrong profile. Well, I do know this loaded because I had one deck that I saved. So here's my nothing but ammo deck that I had saved. So that works. So we got one deck here that loaded, and then if I come here, I can go ahead and load up on some cards and make a new deck. So if I do that, we'll go ahead and I'll throw a bunch of cards in here. We'll just throw a bunch of these. We'll make a new deck real quick. All right, and then we'll just call this new deck for test. So there we go. I'm about to save this, so we'll save it. Bam, and we're back to the deck manager, and then here's our new deck for test that I just created. So this actually saved, and so if I get out of here, let's do that. Let me take a look, and then we'll go ahead and open this up. Open it up again. So we saw how it like went to our deck profile, our deck manager, that deck we just saved. And then if I go ahead and click continue and go back to build deck, there it is, new deck for test. So that saved, even though I turned the game off, that was saved in Easy Save, and then here it is. You know, it's here for use if I need it. So save manager's working. Now if I go back, let's see. Let's try it. Let's try it again. We're gonna load up a separate. I could have swore I updated the collection. That's odd. Let's see. Let's try a new one actually, or a different one. So we'll try game save 1. Load. I'll take it like, okay, here we go. Build deck. So this one, actually, I have like 4 different decks inside of this build, or this save profile. So you could see how like the different, it's saving the different profiles. So hopefully you see it is actually working. So like the other profile only had 2 decks. This profile, I have 4 decks. And let's say the same thing, I want to make a new one. If you notice, my card count collections are different too, because I'm actually saving the card collection itself. So actually, I could actually make like a real deck here. So we'll take 4 of these guys, take 4 of those. Let's take a look. Yeah, I definitely want a Liberator, want some tanks. So let's add some of those guys. And you can actually change them from here too. You got these arrows you could add. So here we go. We want some other guys. I want a couple Rangers. I want a Marine, a Commando. We'll take a Frank Fortress. Don't mind this outline. I gotta fix it. I'll take a Frank Fortress. Actually, why not take 2? I want a Hurricane Hauler. Take one of those. Let's load up on command cards. Load up some draw supporters here. There we go. Take a bunch of those. You can see my card count. I got to get to 60 cards. That's not going to be a problem. Oh, that's too many airlifts. So, and then let's see what I got in my deck so far. We'll expand the deck. These are all the cards I have in it so far. Okay. These are all the command cards, all the unit cards, and then just all. So we'll go back. We're not done yet. We need Ammo Factory. This is actually a really good card. We'll take one of those. We'll take a Barracks. That's a pretty good card. We'll take a couple Civ 9 snipers. And then I want some tank bust. I actually want 2 tank busters, and then I'm gonna load up on some ammo. So another thing you can do too in this deck manager, you can filter out by command cards, unit cards, or ammo. So in this case, there we go. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw some ammo cards in there. There's the ammo. We're gonna go all the way to 60. There we go. So now if I go back to all and I expand, you can see this is the entire like deck of 60 cards. We got our unit cards here, we have some command cards, and then we have our ammo there at the bottom. So now that that's done, let's just go ahead and save it again. We're going to call this NHA Attack Deck. Sounds kind of cool. And we'll save it. And there we go. There's our NHA Attack Deck. It is in our deck manager. I can't actually edit it yet. I haven't wired up the buttons, but it does save. And so if we go back, another thing, like I said, the card collection, we can view the card collection. This is actually being saved by Easy Save also. So it's all there. And then if we go ahead and get out, we'll do one more test. Just a sec. So that was game save number 1, where that had all of those decks. We'll just go ahead and click continue. So I have a variable for last played deck, or last played profile, plugged into this button. So if I just click continue and we go to our build deck menu, there we go. We have our NHA attack deck that we just made. So it's working. It's working actually perfectly. It took, like I said, it took me close to a week just to figure all this out. And I guess I'm maybe not the fastest, but I don't spend all day on it either. So that's why it takes so long. But we know it's working. So I kind of went through the presentation, showed you guys like the hierarchy of how all this works. So let's dig into the manager so all this makes sense. So if we look here, let me collapse some of these screens. A lot of this is stuff we don't really need to see at the moment. But you can see here on my menu, just a sec. So I have a master save manager right here. This game object, very important. This is my master save manager game object, and inside of the game object I have a save manager FSM. This is what it looks like. So let's go ahead and blow this up. So this is the master save manager itself. This is everything that's in it. So what I found for a lot of times when you're making controllers or managers of things using Playmaker, a lot of times it's easier and way more efficient to just do everything with global events. And so that's what this is. So if we zoom in, you can see these events that I have set up already. So like easy save, master save, easy save, master load, easy save, master delete, load menu. This is just a separate global event that gets called. So like we're going to get event properties and we're going to save the master. It's just for the master save to save the profile or to save the file. So you can see here, it's all just global events. That's how I manage the entire thing. And then if I scroll all the way down, this is the reset button, that big red reset button on the main screen. That's what this is. It's just taking all of the keys from the Easy Save file, and it's going to basically make an array of all the keys, destroy or delete all of the keys, and then remove and delete all the variables. So that's all that button does. But if we look at the master save, so I kind of packed everything into one like one state. But we can see here, so anytime master save gets triggered, it's going to have a get event property. So very important, when another object sends an event to master save, it's always going to have a set event property action with it, and it's going to carry some type of string. In this particular case, the key is game to save. So this is that profile that the player makes, that new save profile always gets saved here. That's where we get the profile name that the player typed in. So actually I didn't show you that, so we'll show you that here in a second. Actually no, I take that back. Let's do that now because I want this to make sense. So let's just click play again. So just a second, let's let this load up. We're actually just going to go ahead and make a new save. So all right, let's say we don't want to play with our other profiles, we want to start over brand new, so we'll just click new game. We got a text box here. This is going to be what are we going to call it? Test. We'll just call it, I don't know, test YouTube save. There we go. We'll just call it YouTube save. So all right, so we got our name of our new save game, and bam, we'll start game. So now that we did that, if we go to our collection, we're going to see that all of our cards are 0 because we started a brand new game. We don't have any cards yet. So we know it worked. Now if we go back, we'll take this off, and then if we play again, this time we're going to go to our load screen, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. There we go. So we'll go to load, and there it is, YouTube save. So we saved our new game. That's our new save profile. We can load it, we can delete it, we can do whatever we want with it. So good to go. I'm going to get off of that. So let me pull over this menu one more time and actually make it a little bit smaller. So there we go. Okay, so very important thing that just happened there is when we created that new save game, when I clicked start game, it sent an event off to this state here within the master save manager. What it did, it sent an event, and it sent some information. It sent the name that I had typed in as my save profile, that YouTube test. It sent that over the event using event properties. I picked that save name up here. I built a string. So very important. So I talked about earlier how every single attribute within your game, whether it's a save profile, achievement, progress, cards, decks, all that stuff, they're all going to need separate keys to track those things. A lot of times what I'm tracking are like key names, but like a lot of times it's arrays of things. But you'll see, so like I get the string name of the save, right? The first thing I do is I build a string and I add this to it, which is a dash game save. So that's just to clearly delineate that it is a game save key. So that's the first thing, it's a game save key. Then I also build another string with another dash. It's going to say game save dash card collection. So that what that means is that third or that second key is going to say YouTube test dash game save dash card collection, and that's how I'm able to basically create any key that I want to save any type of like item that I need to save, but also I'm keeping or still using the saved name that the player had inputted. So that's how I'm able to basically track like like what keys correspond to what saves profile the player has. That's very important, especially, it's very important in any game, but especially in my game, because I need to make sure whatever profile they select that I load up the proper card collection, so that that way they have all the cards that they've earned, that it loads all of the decks that they've created properly. And so that's how I make my custom. Basically what I'm doing is I'm making custom keys. So I get that save name, I make a custom key for the save profile, then I make a custom key for the card collection save. And those are the two I got so far, but eventually I'm going to probably have like 4 or 5 different keys for just things that I need to save. So that's how I do it. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, send me a question, drop a comment, if it, and I'll try to clarify it. But that's how I do it. I use build strings. I add things that help delineate those keys so I know what they are. And then if I actually go to the variables, you can see here, like I'll have an array here of all keys. And then I have some other arrays too. So like keys to destroy, if I got to destroy. This one's very important, save game keys. That's another array. This is where I keep all like my saved like keys for the save profiles. They all get housed in here. So like let's do this. If I lock this, let's just go play focused. So we'll start this up and you're gonna see what I'm talking about. So now we're not gonna go into the menus. I'm gonna show you the actual save manager FSM on the back end. So here we go. So we see that our master load was triggered. So that's the very first thing. When you boot up the game, it automatically triggers master load. It's going to load our master save profile. But look at the variable. So here's our variable of save game keys array, and here's all those save games that I showed you in the load menu. Here they are in the array. New game 1, new game 2, and then our YouTube save right there. So that's very, very, very important. In the master save manager, you have to have an array of all your keys. That's the only way you're able to actually like track them and then like load them up for the player. So hope that makes sense. We got our array. What else is here? Save string name. That's just from a prior save. If I go to last selected save, this is my variable that I use for that continue button. There you go, YouTube save. It's in there. So I hope that makes sense, but that's how that part works. Let's go ahead and click off of that. So you can see how the array loads up. It loads the master save profile, and then it loads my array of all my like game profile keys. Very, very important. So if we go back to master save, you can see that I'm building the keys. I set the string value for last selected save. I array add. So here's my array add action to that array I just showed you of all my saved keys. And then I do just one massive save all action. So this save all action, this is probably one of the very few actions from Easy Save that I use. Basically what save all does is it saves everything inside of this particular FSM for the save manager. All the variables get saved within this key. And then you can see it's going to ask you what is the key, and it's my master game save file. That's the key. All this master game save file variable is, if I go to it, it's a string variable, and the value is master game save file. That's all it is. It's just knowing that it's going to save to that key. Oh, you know what? Now I think about it, let me show you something else. This is another thing I think might be a little bit helpful and help me out too, because it kind of helps you to make sense of things. So let's go back to the variables. So this all keys here, so there's an action in this load where I just go and I pull all of the keys that have been saved, regardless of save profile. It doesn't matter, just all saved keys in the system. And if we look, it's an array. I got 14, and it's just everything. You got the master game, YouTube game save, YouTube save, game save dash card collection. That's the card collection. You got game save 1, the NHA attack deck that's in game save 1. You got game save 2. You got new deck for test. Like all the deck keys, all the card collection keys, everything is in there. And so I hope that's just kind of shows you, like, every time you save something with Easy Save with a different key, you're using keys for everything. So this is just a way for me to track like what key, what keys there are and where are they. So that's how I do that. And so that kind of plays into the master delete. So like let's say this person wants to delete a save profile. They can do that by clicking in the load menu, clicking the delete button. And what that'll do is it'll send off an event where, let me get out of that, turn off the music. It's going to send off an event where it's going to tell you the key to delete. So it's going to be the key name. Also going to be key name to delete. So the key to delete is actually, that's the index within the array. So another important thing is when I instantiate those objects to show you your saved games, inside of those prefabs, I actually have some variables inside of those prefabs that give you the key name, and then it gives you the index of the key within the saved game array. That's very important because when you're going to like get rid of everything, you need to make sure you delete the correct key at the correct spot. So that's very big. And then you can see here I have the action delete key, and then I go ahead and I save it, and then I send another event to it's an event to load menu refresh the save game menu. So if I click delete, it's going to refresh that menu and then it'll be gone. So one thing I'm not deleting yet is I am deleting like the save game key, and that's it. The only problem is I'm not deleting any of the card collections or the decks that are associated with that save profile. So that's another thing I'm going to have to add on to this eventually. So we don't want to just delete that key. We need to delete the card collection key with it and delete any decks associated with this. So that's going to be kind of tough. We'll have to figure out how we do that exactly. There's probably going to have to be, think about this. I'll have to figure it out. I'm not quite sure yet. so I'll have to figure it out. So there's that. And then we have the load last saved. That's pretty easy. So yeah, that's it for the master save. So let's get out of this. I'll actually just slide this over. Let's take a look at the player profile or the player card save manager. So there we go. This one's a little bit different. Kind of a similar type setup. So you're going to see here, I have like my different global events that we call on. So like save game file, save deck, save easy save, card collection. That's where we save the card collection. We have a save delete, which has nothing in it at the moment. And then here at the bottom, you got easy save load. So like when we load a profile, the next event it's gonna trigger is this load, and this is gonna load everything. So like, apologize I didn't name the states, but this is gonna get the game to load, get the card collection to load. It's gonna destroy any leftover objects, and then from here we're just gonna load all. We're gonna load the string or load that save profile with the key that we received, and then we're gonna go ahead. So this is another very important thing. So like all the decks that you saw me save, right? One thing that took me a while to figure out is those decks that I save, that I build and save, those are all built and saved at runtime. So what's tricky is like, how do you save those decks and then bring them back into the game and while still maintaining like the exact list of cards you saved? It's difficult. So what I ended up finding out was that I have to save all of these deck keys inside of this FSM string array deck list. So this is actually just an array inside of this FSM. Here it is right here. So if I click play and I load a profile, you're going to see all the decks that person created inside of this array. Very, very important so that we save those. So what we do is we pull from this array. We go here, we create a new object. So I have a prefab. Actually, I'm not using, take that back. I'm not using a prefab for this. So I just create an empty object. It has no physical beings, just an empty game object. I name it after the deck from the deck name from the array, and then I make it the child of this game object right here called player deck collection, and then we store it as a new deck game object. Once we do that, inside of that new game object that we just created, I do an array list create. So I specify that new deck object. I give it the name, which is the deck name that we just pulled. So I reset the name, and then I array list load. So we create a brand new array list. So that's where that array maker comes in, because we're making an array list proxy inside of that game object. And inside of that array list proxy is going to be the entire list of cards that we selected for our deck. And then we load that array list proxy with this easy save array list load. We specify the game object, which is that game object we just created for the deck. We reference the deck name. So what this is saying is it's going to look for an array list proxy with that deck name, which we had just created the step for. So that's very important. You have to find it'll pop an error if it doesn't find the exact array list proxy that you mentioned that you wanted to find. And then from there, the key. So the key is another very important part. So like that key that we created earlier for the deck that says, so the deck key itself actually doesn't have like any type of, I think about it, it doesn't have any kind of like tag to it. It's just literally whatever name you input. So that's important. It's going to go ahead and search that key and it'll load it. And then that's how it knows to pull the correct, the correct list from Easy Save and load it into the array list. And then once it does that, it's just going to cycle through all the decks, and then it'll pop up here. And then from there, we do a hash table load. So this is the player card collection that I was talking about. So basically this entire like string here, or entire like flow, is loading all of the players' decks that they built, and it's loading their entire card collection into a hash table. And then that hash table is actually right here. So let's do that. So this is the card collection hash table. You can see here all the keys and then the number of those cards that the player would have. So this hash table gets loaded from the player save profile. And then deck collections, actually nothing. This is more or less, it's actually an empty game object. There's really nothing. It's meant to just be the parent of all the decks that we create. So let's do that again real quick. Lower the volume here. Oops, I messed up the screen. Sorry, guys. Just moving stuff around real quick. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. So play focus, click play. We're going to select we'll select game file 1. Okay, so let's go to load. Let's select game save 1, load. Okay, so key thing to look at here, we'll go and pause. On the left hand side in this hierarchy here, you have the player deck collection. So like I said, that's an empty game object. It's just meant to be the parent that houses all of the decks the player creates. And you can see here the 5 decks that I've created for this profile. So I have new deck, ammo, terrible deck, nothing but ammo, and then the NHA attack deck that we created earlier. There they are. They're actually game objects. And if I click on them, so let's take a look at that NHA deck that we created. Here it is. We have an array list proxy here on the right side. And if I open it, and we'll take a look, here are all the cards that I selected for that deck. So we got the light infantry, we got the marksmen, machine gunners, liberators, Frank Fortress is in there. And if I just kind of scroll down, you can see all the other command cards I put in, and then a bunch of ammo there at the end. So there's the list. It actually loaded. And if I click on another one, you can see here's another deck that we made that is literally nothing but ammo and a couple other cards. But yeah, they're all there. And then if I click, we'll unpause it. Let's go to build deck. There are all those same decks here. So like when this screen loads, it actually gets all of the children from this game object and creates a new prefab for them. So that's how I'm doing that. We'll go ahead and click out of that. Very good stuff there. Oh, and actually here, we'll do this too. Play this one more time. We'll select the same profile. Just click continue. Okay, click pause, and then let's go ahead and roll this over. So here's that player, that save manager, the player profile save manager. If I go to the variables, here's the FSM string array deck list. This is the list of all of the decks that this profile has. There you go. What else is in here? There's some stuff. I actually got to clean this out because some of these variables I'm not using anymore. But yeah, like, and then here's the card collection. So like that's the card collection. It's got to load. All that kind of stuff. And then, you know, all keys, which I'm not using anymore. But yeah, so long story short, you're going to need two different save managers. You're going to need one for the entire game. You're going to need one for the profiles that are inside of the save profiles inside of your game. You're going to need them in separate FSMs, so that way you're not getting inadvertent saves or saving variables that shouldn't be saved. And yeah, and you're going to have to use, basically you're going to have to use a lot of arrays to just track the different things you need to track. What I showed you guys for my save system, I don't think I'm done yet. I think, so like on the delete stuff, I'm probably going to have to create some other arrays, just keeping track of like all the decks that are associated to a save profile. So that way when I delete a profile, I actually remove all of those deck keys as well. So that's going to be pretty important. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Trying to think, let's see if there's anything else that I need to cover. So we talked about the two save managers, we talked about the arrays, and I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, so, you know, I hope you guys got some value out of this video. I didn't really, like it, you know, I didn't dive into the actual process of making the FSMs or the managers, the save managers themselves. I just kind of gave you an overview of how mine look. But let me know, I mean, if you guys, you know, if you need more help, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments. If you like these kind of videos, go ahead and like. I'd appreciate it if you can. If you like it and subscribe, help boost my channel a little bit. But if you guys want another video on this topic with Easy Save and Playmaker about actually making the save managers and kind of going through all those processes, let me know, and I could probably do something about with that in the future and put another video, like a part 2 together of this video or something. But just going in depth and actually building the save manager itself. But like I said, I hope you guys got some value out of this. Hopefully, like, I'll be able to save somebody some time because I spent like hours racking my brain over this until I finally figured it out. But I'm gonna leave it there, guys. That's all I got. I hope you guys got some value out of this video. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.